I'm going to spend 100 days in Hytale to answer one question. How good is the game actually?
Not all of it's particularly interesting.
The game is very early access.
We're going to check out every single aspect of the game, from delving into dungeons, surviving terrifying biomes, exploring ancient portals, to even finding a dragon. Things didn't go as I expected. Here we go. I spent 100 days in Hytale. I woke up in some sort of old temple. I could grab some stone rubble, mushrooms, but not much else. Then I opened the doors. A vast forest stretched out in front of me. It's been a while since I had a feeling like that. A whole world to explore. First things first, gotta get some food. I picked up berries and wheat. Then I thought about gathering some wood, so I tried the logical thing. It didn't work. Things work a little different here. I had to break some bushes to scavenge sticks and plant fiber first. Combining those with the stone rubble I got from the temple, I crafted a crude hatchet. Cutting down that first tree and watching the whole thing come down felt great, but the peace didn't last. In plain daylight, a skeleton charged right at me. I tried swinging my axe, but it barely caused any damage. I had to run. The little guy was persistent, chasing me all the way to a river. I dove in, and luckily skeletons don't like swimming. If I wanted to stop running, I needed better gear, so I made a crude sword and pickaxe. This time I tracked the skeleton and was able to block his strikes even. With a single charge attack, I brought it down. I was pretty hurt though, so I set down a campfire to rest, cooked some wheat into roasted vegetables, and let the health regeneration kick in. While exploring the menu, I saw a lock symbol next to my avatar. It said, "Find a forgotten temple to learn more." I was really curious, so I started exploring, stumbling upon a structure with some lanterns and a door. Inside, there was just a sign that said "Work in progress." Yeah, the game is in early access, so it's to be expected. I kept moving, coming across some animals, really cute pigs. Just for science, of course, I took one down to see what they dropped. Raw pork and hide. We will need this for crafting later. It was time to find a place to call home. I spotted an interesting looking structure on my map, set a waypoint and began the trek there. The place seemed ancient, old. I came upon a statue of a priestess right in front of some magical flame. I was able to head downstairs deeper into the structure, and that's when I saw a massive golem guarding a portal. He didn't seem to have noticed me, so I tried landing a sneak attack. He was way too tanky. I was going to die, so I ran through the portal to escape. There were some merchants I could interact with. One of them wasn't open for business, still work in progress, but the other one sold some food-related stuff like spices and recipes. I also found a bedroom inside a literal tree, surrounded by leaves and mushrooms. The most interesting part was a statue. Interacting with it unlocked the memories feature. By fighting creatures, I could collect memories that I can then turn in for rewards. I kept exploring this place. I stumbled upon more work in progress signs. I even tried going to the edge, since we were in a floating island of our own. It was time to go back. I hopped through the portal, stayed away from the golem, and managed to loot a few chests, actually. By the time I escaped, night had fallen. The sky was beautiful, full of stars, but I needed to sleep. I hunted a few chickens for extra hide and crafted a bedroll. Just like that, day one was over. The next morning, I realized my inventory was almost full. I needed a place to store my stuff. While checking my loot, I realized I had a shield. It looked pretty nice. I could even do some shield bashes. It was time to find a good base location. I headed towards the mountains on the horizon. There, I discovered the Seedling Woods area and found a dark cave entrance. After crafting some torches, I went inside. It was quite creepy. I came across a cave spider that dropped some venom. The place just kept going deeper deeper. Eventually, I decided to set up a temporary camp at the entrance with a workbench and a furnace. I smelted my copper ore and built an armorer's workbench. This will let me make some defensive gear, but to do that, I had to mine a lot more. So I crafted a copper pickaxe, much faster than the one I had. On day 3, I stocked up on arrows and torches and went back down. At one point, I arrived at an exit. Stepping outside, I realized I was really close to the original entrance. I grabbed some sunflowers and kept mining more iron ore. Since I ran out of torches, I had to go back to the surface to gather more plant fiber. Then, I found a little baby chicken. It was so small and cute. I followed it around for a while, but I couldn't do much. Then, while cutting some trees, I came across a black wolf. I wondered if there was a way to tame him, but I wasn't able to. I had to run away, and they were pretty fast. Having escaped, I finally crafted my copper armor set. Helmet, cuirass, gauntlets. I was starting to look like a proper warrior. Deeper in the caves, I found glowing cyan crystals. But then, something much more awful. Cocoons. Spider webs. They made horrible noises. I hit one of those things and a pile of skulls fell out. Nasty. But things didn't end there. I stumbled upon a huge tunnel that went so deep it was intimidating. I even ran into goblins and some kind of magma snail. One thing that bothered me a lot was that the enemies were spawning behind me, even though I cleared the area and there were torchlights. At one point, a huge toad rhino-looking monster appeared, pulled me with his tongue or something, and I respawned back at my bed, ran back for my gear, and found the monster's head vanished. Weird. Anyways, I pushed further until I saw lava and a fire steel golem. He was huge. The golem seemed to be sleeping or something. I decided to get closer. I thought about shooting some arrows, but I didn't have any left. A goblin appeared out of nowhere, and by killing it, I looted its weapon. That was nice. A massive two-handed mace. Lastly, another goblin started throwing bombs at me. I decided to stay away and headed back to rest. Unfortunately, all these days, I was having problems falling asleep. The light from the torches didn't help. What I really needed was a sleep mask, like this one I got from Mantisleep, the sponsor of today's video. I use it every single night. The mask is so well adjustable that I'm even taking naps with it. It has 100% blackout. The feel is soft, breathable, and premium. The eye cups put no pressure on your eyes. It's really comfortable. I sleep sideways and it works perfectly. There's a lot of versions to choose from. There's the cool mask, the steam mask, the pro mask, the waiter mask, and the new Gen Manta Sound Sleep mask. This one has Bluetooth speakers, so you can listen to music, a podcast, or whatever you like while you fall asleep. Be sure to check out the Manta Sleep website, link in the description, and use my code for 10% off your order. Thank you to Mantisleep for sponsoring this video. On day 5, I got killed by black wolves. I was too weak, so I spent time refining my gear. I finished my copper set with greaves and a shield. To make iron armor, I would need a lot of leather. That meant hunting animals, so I crafted a blacksmith anvil to make better weapons, double copper daggers, and a copper battle axe. I tested my new kit on a skeleton, decimating the little guy and even the black wolves, using a whirlwind special attack that just shredded everything. As the rain started to fall, I stumbled upon an abandoned house by a lake. It didn't look bad. I could restore this and make it my home. I then crafted a copper short bow and a copper mace to test every single weapon. I also built a training dummy, thinking I could compare damage numbers, but I couldn't. Nothing happened when I attacked it. It was just decoration. So I set up a tanning rack to process my hides into leather. Thanks to this, I could start making iron items. The first thing I made was an iron pickaxe. It was so much faster. Lastly, I headed to the mountains to hunt a few goats for their hides. I still needed more leather, so I spent most of my time out in the wilds. Honestly, I felt a bit awful taking down the little animals. But then a wolf and a bear started chasing me, so I guess that's karma. I tried taming a fox, throwing some meat on the ground, but it didn't work. Yeah, taming is not implemented for the moment. Then I stumbled upon something really cool. Climbing. There's a full third-person animation for it. I spent way too much time doing parkour, scaling walls. Just imagining the possibilities of mods with this. While I was exploring, I spotted a new ore on the surface, thorium. I was surprised to find it above ground. It's even better than iron. I kept moving and discovered a new area called the fence. The trees and flora were beautiful. Nearby, I found a point of interest, a small fort with a statue at the top. I went to investigate and came across a boss fight. The boss started summoning skeleton minions. Suddenly it was a 4v1. I tried to use the environment, climbing to the high ground to gain advantage. But then he was gone. Probably glitched through the terrain or something. Yeah, I don't know. It was disappointing. I really wanted to see what loot he would drop. As a consolation prize, I decided to steal the statues and the bracers. Then something strange happened. An essence of the void. I was miles from home and it was really dark, so I threw a bedroll to sleep through the night. Next morning, I realized there was a massive dark cave underneath the fort. It looked like it went incredibly deep, but my inventory was already packed to the brim, so I decided to head back to base and come back later. On the way home, I found a horse. I walked up and mounted it, just like that. No taming required. It could climb mountains and jump with ease. It was incredibly useful until I got back to base and it got scared, running off into the caverns. Poor guy. Back at the shelter, it was time to organize. I realized I could make double chests just like in Minecraft, so I set up 4 of them to handle all my stuff. By then, the tanning rack had finished the leather. I finally crafted my iron gear, the cuirass, the helmet, and the gauntlets. But once again, I ran out of leather. I was out hunting again when I saw a snake and a huge horned creature. The big one just ran away from me. It wasn't hostile at all. I felt awful attacking it, but I needed that leather. I really wish there was a way to make better armor without having to do this. Anyways, then a massive abandoned ancient castle appeared. I went through the front gate and fought a skeleton warrior. Actually, the place was crawling with them. Melee fighters, rangers with crossbows, and even a mage. The spellcaster was cool. He dropped green crystal shards when I took him down. I found that the bow was actually the best way to clear them out. I went full loot goblin mode, smashing barrels, breaking iron bars, and looting chests filled with different kinds of stuff. I even found an ancient coffin. When I opened it, a skeleton popped out, ready to fight. Inside the castle, I found a living room with chairs and tables. It felt like a real place. I really liked the furniture, so I was taking it all. Counters, wardrobes. The bed was actually much nicer than the one I had. After a good rest, my inventory was completely full. So I headed home and finally finished my armor set with iron greaves. At this point, upgrading my workbench was a priority. To get thorium armor, I needed a tier 2 workbench, which required more iron. But before delving into the mines, I spent some time renovating. I set up the bookshelves, the benches, and my stolen bed. It was starting to feel like a real home. Sort of. I'm still living in the cavern. After prepping enough torches and arrows, I headed back into the mines. At one point, I found another exit and realized I was right back near my entrance again. It feels like these cave systems are looping around, constantly bringing me back to the start. I pushed even further into the darkness, fighting off rats and bats as I went. I continued mining iron ore deeper than I'd ever been. It was so deep that I almost lost track of where I was. But the worst part, I found another one of those fire enemies. I started shooting arrows, trying to keep my distance, but the thing was an absolute tank. I wasted dozens of arrows on it. In the end, I took it down. I kept descending until I reached a lava section. From here, I started seeing completely new enemies. One of them was a flying skull that shot fire projectiles at me. I managed to take it down. I continued exploring this new biome or whatever it was. I ran into a new type of skeleton. Once I killed that one, more just kept appearing out of the dark. They were dual-wielding torches and swords, which was actually kind of cool, but I was afraid to lose my stuff here. I could not even heal properly. They were interrupting me with their attacks, but that wasn't the worst part. I came across the huge toad rhino creature that killed me before. The moment I saw it, I ran as fast as I could. I could not die right now. With so much material in my inventory, the caves were a maze, and I had a really hard time figuring out how to get home. Thankfully, by following the torches I had placed earlier, I was able to make my way back. The first thing I did was process all the ore I had collected and turn it into ingots. I had a lot of it. My pickaxe had broken too, so I went to the workbench to craft a repair kit. I used it to fix my iron pickaxe, my short bow, and my copper battle axe. While checking my inventory, I realized I had gathered a huge number of memories. Because of that, I decided to pay a visit to the Forgotten Temple Gateway. I headed there and fought the Portal Guardian. This time, it was incredibly easy to defeat. After that, I reached the Forgotten Temple, went straight to the Statue of Memories, and recorded everything I had collected. This unlocked several new perks. I could now craft decorative chests and eternal seeds, but most importantly, it said I could craft more teleporters. I had no idea what that meant or how to make them though. Maybe I needed a specific workbench. Back home, I realized there were many stations I had never built. Things like the farmer's workbench, the chef's stove, the furniture workbench, and more. I decided to get to work. I needed to expand my base a bit to make some space for the new stations. There were a lot of them, but things were looking good. We're making progress. Thanks to all the work I had done, I had a lot of ingots ready, which allowed me to upgrade my workbench to tier 2. This unlocked a lot of new crafting options. One of them was a backpack. To make it, I will need a large amount of medium leather, which I did not have yet. In the meantime, I crafted a salvager's workbench, something I could now make thanks to the tier 2 upgrade. After setting it up, I started experimenting with it. I placed a marble couple inside and got marble rubble in return. Then I tried scrapping crude tools like the pickaxe. That gave me plant fibers, sticks, and stone rubble. Interesting. I kept going. When I scrapped the broken weapon, it somehow gave me a huge pile of books, which was funny. But then I scrapped the sword, which gave me iron ore. I made sure to scrap everything I could. After placing my new books on my desk, I made an iron short bow and battle axe. I needed this in order to hunt wolves for medium heights for the backpack. For some reason, I could not mount my horse anymore. I have no idea why. He was just standing there at my base doing nothing. While looking for more wolves, I came across what looked like an enemy fort. It seemed to be a camp full of trolls. Their leader tried to run, but he did not get far. I explored the entire place, checking every corner for loot. Most of it was nothing special, but then I opened the chest and found troll warrior pants. Compared to my iron boots, they were similar, but these increased charged attack damage, so I immediately equipped them. I love that kind of loot variety. The sunrise here was beautiful. I made sure to break every barrel and box I could find to loot absolutely everything. Then continued hunting and exploring. I stumbled upon an abandoned house with a basement full of water. I don't know why, but things like this make the world feel lived in. Next, I ran into some boars, which only dropped light heights. Thankfully, I managed to find more wolves in the end. But there was something much more interesting nearby. In the distance, I could see some massive lava waterfalls. It looked like a completely different biome. Once I was done hunting, I also came across a structure that looked like it might be a dungeon. It led underground, but it turned out to be a dead end, just a small cave with nothing of interest. So I decided to head towards the lava waterfalls instead. I swam through the ocean, moving through the crystalline depths. Going underwater was beautiful. There seemed to be stuff at the bottom, but I could not hold my breath for long. I wonder if there was some kind of water-breathing potion I could make in the future. When the lava touched the water here, it turned into cobblestone. I tried climbing the hill, but the terrain was super steep and difficult. After struggling for a while, I managed to make it to the top. This place looked like hell itself. I spotted a spiky creature in the distance. It was the giant rhino toad again. I stayed as far away as possible. This place seemed to be called the Charred Woodlands. It was pretty terrifying, and the sun was setting. I was attacked by 2 armored skeletons. These were much tougher than the normal ones. It took a while to defeat them. I had no choice but to spend the night there. This area had those big fire monsters again, the same kind I had seen underground, but that wasn't the worst. I couldn't believe it. That was so unfair. Tons of items were lost into the lava. Gone. So many hides I had collected. Lost. I kept exploring this godforsaken place and came across an undead cow, but that was nothing compared to what I found next. I stumbled upon a town. The place looked ruined. I shot at some kind of wraith with my bow. This place was eerie. Inside, I found purple glowing mushrooms and multiple chests filled with loot. One of them contained adamantite ore, which was a higher tier material. I even found another one with thorium gauntlets. They were significantly better than what I was wearing. I kept looting everything, finding more adamantite, ingots, potions. This place was something else. Eventually, I found a hatch leading down into a structure filled with water and lava. Chains hung from the ceiling. Strange shards glowed in the dark. I looted more chests. When I finally made it back out, it was nighttime. I slept far away from home. Since everything here was ruined or destroyed, I kept getting lost. I could not tell which rooms I had already explored. To get a better sense of the place, I used a special dagger move to climb to the top of a tower. The view from up there was incredible. I could see the entire town and the biome itself. I also found a chest containing a thorium mace. Of course, I grabbed it. It was a rare weapon, and it felt amazing to swing. I kept looting, finding more chests, where one included a thorium pickaxe. There was more loot than I expected. I managed to get thorium greaves and even a new battle axe. I reached the point of filling my entire inventory. These thorium weapons were insane. I was able to kill an armored skeleton easily. I even stumbled upon my old nemesis, the rhino toad creature. It was time for revenge. The thing dropped 3 medium heights. Nice. This entire biome felt incredible. It reminded me of something like Mordor. I managed to climb even higher than before, realize how far this place stretched out. As I ventured further into unknown lands, the worst happened again. By some miracle, I saved myself. I have no idea how I did that. Thankfully, I had food to heal. I kept mining upward, placing blocks, and climbing however I could. I took this as a sign that it was time to go back home to store everything I had collected. I did not want to lose the hides, the weapons, all of it. I jumped into the ocean and swam back towards safer lands. On my way home, I ran into another group of trolls and their small camp. There was actually only 2 warriors, and there was nothing of value here, so I destroyed their barrels and supplies. I did like the design of their tent though. I might do something similar at my own base. Eventually, I arrived back home. My horse was still there, but it was terrified of me. Poor guy. There was a lot of work to do. I salvaged all the iron equipment I no longer needed. I even included one of the thorium pickaxes. Processing all the material, especially the hides, were really slow. Since this was going to take a while, I decided to renovate my place. I worked on better access to my base, building a huge marble staircase. One thing I really liked was how the builder's workbench let me change the appearance of different blocks. For the entrance, I used a combination of marble bricks and ornate stone along the edges. I then crafted an iron hammer, which let me change the appearance of blocks that were already placed. It made building patterns, especially on the floors, incredibly easy. It also worked on natural terrain blocks. While I was working on the entrance, something happened. That thing dropped an essence of the void. It was just like the other one. This seemed to spawn only at night. It was terrifying. Building the staircase took a long time. I wanted it to be massive, something that truly led into my home in a majestic way. The next step was adding guardrails. It took me a while to decide on which style I preferred. I kept refining them until everything felt right. Once I finished, the place already looked much better. But this was only the entrance, so I started working on the ceiling of my base, preparing the walls, removing dirt and stone, and replacing everything with marble blocks. One thing I haven't tried yet was a shovel, so I crafted one. It actually was able to destroy multiple blocks at once. Interesting. This little project had me gathering tons of marble. I kept mining and expanding the floor too, fixing the walls and cleaning everything up. I also did some extra small touches, like crafting some lanterns and working on the skylight. I'm pretty sure there's no glass blocks in the game yet, so the iron bars would have to work for now. While working, Simon, the creator of the game, tweeted the following: "Have you found the sleeping frost dragon in Hytale? I had no idea this even existed. I needed to find that." I decided I had spent enough time building. It was time to go out and find that dragon. Before leaving, let me show you the final result. While preparing everything for the trip, I realized I could finally craft a backpack. But there was something else not as good. My workbench was tier 1. While working on the floor a few days ago, I had to destroy the workbench and place it again. That seemed to have reset its tier level. I had to waste around 20 iron ingots just to upgrade it back again. It was awful. Finally, I crafted the backpack, gaining an entire extra row for items. I could upgrade the backpack even further, but that would require heavy leather and cinder cloth scraps, which I did not have. I was close to being able to craft an alchemist workbench, but I was missing more venom sacks, which only dropped from spiders and snakes. That meant I would need to go out and hunt them. This time, I decided to head north, looking for the materials and that frost dragon. Along the way, I discovered a new biome called the Frost March Tundra. I ran into a skeleton scout wearing a hood and carrying a bow. I destroyed it with my mace. What caught my attention was a snow leopard in the middle of a frozen lake. It was completely stuck there. It took a surprising amount of arrows to kill. The spawning system was a bit funky.
What?
I kept gathering all the leather I could, of course. As I pushed forward, I saw more eyes, even finding an entrance to an underground cavern, but I decided to stay on the surface for now. Along the way, I encountered frost skeleton fighters. Eventually, I reached the proper snow area. I wonder if this was where I could find that dragon. When I woke up the next morning, I realized I was standing right next to a massive cavern. I was tempted to explore it, but I decided to keep moving on the surface instead. Not long after, I found a strange structure guarded by two masked armored enemies. Once I defeated them, they dropped shadow weave scraps. I went inside this ancient building. It felt old, the same kind of feeling you get when exploring dungeons in Skyrim. Going deeper, I fought more of these warriors. Thanks to my massive mace, I managed to kill them all, though they took a lot of health from me. I had to eat constantly just to stay alive. There were chests everywhere, and even a dark temple coffin. When I opened it, once again, a skeleton jumped out, ready to fight. I checked every corner of this place, slowly, contemplating every nook and cranny. Between all the loot, I found an iron shield and even a thorium short bow. The dungeon just kept going. It was much bigger than I expected. The guardians of this place were quite tough. At one point, I almost died. I had to retreat in order to heal myself. Just when I thought I was done scavenging, I discovered a secret area by climbing some ladders and breaking a few blocks. It led to a small hidden room. It looked like a living space, a home. And then I found an NPC. He looked like a fancy, one-eyed orc with a tail, calmly smoking a pipe. He didn't attack me. It felt like this was his own little home. There were even beds inside. It was strange to find someone living here. I tried talking to him, but I couldn't. So I took my opportunity and stole everything I could. I even used his bed to take a quick nap. Curiosity got the better out of me. I really wanted to see what the little orc would drop, so I felt so bad. He only dropped copper. Poor man. Moving on, I stumbled upon the entrance to an underground ice cavern. Since my main objective was still finding the frost dragon, I figured this was probably not the right place. I decided to head back out. The guards at the entrance had respawned, and they almost killed me. I was one hit away from dying. I had to sprint away and jump straight into a river to break the chase. I really needed an armor upgrade soon. The ice biome was captivating. I ran into a polar bear. Once again, the AI did not put up much of a fight. To be fair, the little guy was on an ice platform, so he stood no chance. I went to loot him and yeah, I suck. Still, I managed to climb back and collect the heavy hide. I continued my search for the dragon, going north, and entered a new area called the Everfrost. I had to fight some winter wolves there. Not only that, but another polar bear came at me for revenge. I ran as fast as possible, but then, all of a sudden, he seemed to get confused. I shot arrows at him, and question marks were appearing above it. Weird. I kept moving and stumbled upon skeleton mages on top of some small hill. They were firing magic missiles at me. I stood no chance. The good news, further ahead, I found cobalt ore right on the surface. As I pushed deeper, I came across another settlement. The same guards I had fought before were there, so this was clearly an enemy camp. I went in anyway, ready for a fight. There was a ranger shooting arrows from above, and inside the city, it was packed with more warriors. There were a lot, and they annihilated me. The fight was brutal, relentless. I had to drink all my potions. I even used my ultimate attack, leaping through the air and slamming the ground, but it was too dangerous. With no healing left, and being so far away from home, it was too much of a risk. I left this place for later. After escaping, I found myself right next to a huge mountain. Checking the map, something in the area caught my attention. I started heading there, up the mountain, through the snowstorm, still searching for any signs of the ancient creature. When I finally reached the place, it was empty. Although masked warriors were standing around, doing nothing, it felt strange. This whole section was surrounded by wooden beams, like in a big circular pattern. It felt like a ritual site or something. Not far from there, I found another point of interest. It was rustic, with ladders and wooden bridges. It was like some kind of work site. Inside a chest, I found leather and a troll warrior cuirass. It was better than my armor, so I equipped it. There were also skulls on the wall. Tons of skulls. Something was off. Turns out this place was owned by trolls. I took down one of them. I made sure to explore the place for loot, but there was not much of value. From all the way to the top, I realized there was another lava biome right next to me. I really wanted to check it out, but my inventory was full, so it was time to return home. I dropped into the water, beginning the journey back, and then under the water, I saw a big creature in the distance. I made sure to stay away. I got so distracted that I almost drowned. That was not the only new mob I encountered. While maneuvering through some mountain, I found some yetis. I managed to kill one of them and run away. I kept traveling for days on end. After a long journey, I arrived back home. The first thing I did was start processing everything, turning hide into leather and ore into ingots. I also decorated my base with the things I collected: statues, a cauldron, and a fancy flame. While waiting, I went out to gather venom sacs, which meant hunting snakes. I also needed Essence of the Void, which was dropped by the night monsters. I kept taking down one mob after the other. They were pretty creepy, especially in the middle of the darkness. The next morning, I reached a new biome, the Badlands. I had found the desert. There were camels, a saber-toothed tiger, but the most creepy of them all was a big flying insect, some kind of massive venomous wasp. It was disgusting. I hated it. I decided to investigate a nearby ruined castle. It was guarded by sand skeletons, which were pretty easy to deal with. I was able to loot some chests, nothing crazy, but always welcome. Right outside, I ran into a giant scorpion. It also dropped venom sacs, exactly what I needed. The best thing about the desert was the underground caverns. Deep inside, I discovered tons of thorium ore I could mine. I gathered as much as possible. This place was bigger than I expected. Once I had everything I needed, I returned to the surface. There were huge natural formations on the horizon, and near them was another building. It had a furnace and some rail tracks. I even stole a cart and was able to set it up and ride it. It did not end well. I almost died. The place was full of skeleton warriors. With so much loot with me and not a lot of healing items, this was not a good time to be here. So I got out and started returning to my base. I made sure to make a stop at the Forgotten Temple to record some more memories at the statue. This unlocked something huge. Now I could craft ancient gateways and portal fragments at an Arcanist workbench. This will be really important later. On my way home, I stumbled upon a massive tree, but that wasn't all. It was some kind of settlement. The place was beautiful. I thought it was abandoned. Everything was made of wood, with staircases leading up. But then, I found one of those cute creatures with a leaf helmet and a spear. I also could trade with them. There were even children. It was a whole family living there. Another random thing, the mushrooms were bouncy. They actually worked as trampolines. I spent some time bouncing around and then tried climbing all the way to the top. The leaves blocked most of the view, but I was able to see all the different colors of the trees in the distance. It was beautiful. Then everything went wrong. I dropped so many things. The thorium, venom sacs, all that I needed. I rushed back as fast as I could, terrified. Thankfully, I managed to recover everything, and I spent the night there, sleeping in one of the creature's beds. The next day, I finally returned home. I crafted both the Arcanist and Alchemist workbench. With that, I now had access to every station available in the game, at least for the moment. The Alchemist workbench let me craft antidotes, health and stamina potions, even some weird ones like frog morphine potions. I really needed to try those. Unfortunately, I was missing some empty potion bottles. Then there was the Arcanist workbench. This thing was crucial. It allowed me to craft teleporters. I could create warp links between them. To do that, I needed azure logs and azure kelp, and I had no idea where to find those yet. There was also something called an ancient gateway, a way to travel to other dimensions. For that, I needed more Essence of the Void and thorium ingots. ingots. Luckily, I still had some left to smelt. On top of that, I could craft things like healing totems, slowing totems, and staffs. I wondered if there was magic in the game. We had a lot of work to do. To make so many ingots, I needed fuel. So I chopped down tons and tons of trees to make sure I didn't run out. I also stayed late into the night to grind more essence of the void. Finally, I was able to craft the ancient gateway. I decided to also build a proper room for it. Once everything was set up, I interacted with it. It said I needed a fragment key. Back at the Arcanist workbench, I could craft 3 different fragments: Dragonspire Weld, Dreadwade, and Windrider Valley. Before going anywhere, I repaired all my gear, cooked some food, and made plenty of arrows. I decided to start with Windrider Valley. I used the fragment. A message said this was under development. I would have 6 minutes to explore the area. It also mentioned that a mage tower might be found here. I summoned the portal and stepped inside. This entire area is a completely different world generation system. It was a sneak peek of it, before it's implemented in the normal world. Windrider Valley was sort of like a jungle region, with massive vertical terrain. The canyons around me were enormous. I fought some of the wildlife and kept climbing higher and higher through the valley walls. Eventually, I reached the top and looked out over the entire area. It was incredible. When I checked the map, I realized just how limited the area actually was. I even walked close to the actual edges next to an abyss of nothing. I made sure to take a good look around the place. Next, I decided to explore the Dreadwade. I summoned the portal and stepped inside. This place was dark and foggy, a massive swamp, eerie and unsettling. It felt larger than the previous area. I respawned back at home, thankfully without losing any items. The last fragment left was Dragonspire Weld, but I needed more Essence of Ice. To get it, I had to head north into the ice biome. I needed to kill hostile mobs in order to gather it. The problem was, there were not a lot of enemies around. The skeletons were in small groups far away from each other. Finding enough was harder than I expected. The grind took a while. Progress was slow, but I kept at it. On the way home, I came across something. Azure logs. Exactly what I needed to build teleporters. I also found Azure kelp. I even came across another area nearby. I made sure to gather as many resources as I could. Finally back home, I crafted the last fragment, plus some teleporters. It was time. I went through the ancient gateway one more time. The place looked like a frozen forest. Fog covered the ground, snow was falling, and everything felt quiet. I started climbing through the hills. The mountains were massive, and reaching the top was a real challenge, but I kept pushing. Eventually, I saw a strange light between the snowy peaks. I moved closer, and then I found it. Turns out, this was just a placeholder for the early access version. It was disappointing, but at the same time, it made me excited to imagine what this would become in the future. When the time limit ran out, I was teleported back home. Next thing I wanted to check out were the magic staffs and morphing potions. For this one, I needed to make some glass bottles, which requires sand, so I mounted my horse and headed south towards the desert. I gathered the full stack to make sure I had enough. Smelting the sand in the furnace gave me back the bottles. With those, I tried crafting a pigeon morphing potion, but for some reason it didn't let me. It was strange, probably a glitch. Instead, I crafted a dog morphing potion. This one was amazing. I was a fully armored dog, holding my weapon. I could attack, jump, and do everything normally. It was insane. After a while, the effect wore off. Still really fun. I built a platform over the water to set up my first teleporter. I wanted a special place for it. My next objective was to craft a magic staff. I was lacking sapphire and silver ingots, so I headed out under the rain. I explored the snowy regions, searched through the mountains, at first with no luck at all. I stumbled upon some topaz along with a bit of gold ore and blue crystal shards, but no sapphire. I even found silver ore, but the search kept going. Just when I was about to give up, I came across sapphire. At last, I had everything I needed. It was time to head back home, but instead of walking all the way back, I climbed to the peak of a mountain and built a proper platform for a waypoint teleporters. Once it was set up, I activated it. In an instant, I was back home. I smelted all the ores into ingots, and with that, I could finally craft the ice crystal staff. It looked great. Some frost-like particles flowed from it. I could use it as a melee weapon, but the cool thing was that it fired magic projectiles. Unfortunately, this consumed essence of ice, so it was quite expensive. In practice, it wasn't very powerful. It took a lot of shots just to kill a single bird. Still, early access, and if you see under my health stat, there's mana too. Right now, it's sitting at 0, so I assume there will be a proper magic system added later. My next objective was getting better armor. To do so, I upgraded the armorer's workbench to tier 2. I crafted a cobalt helmet and a cuirass. They looked really good. I did not need the full set since I already had thorium gauntlets and greaves from earlier, which had similar stats. To craft the best armor currently available, adamantite, I would need a lot more materials. Tons of adamantite ore, a tier 3 workbench, which asks for shadow wave scraps, sturdy chitin, and void hearts. I made another pair of teleporters before setting off to find the rest of the resources. First, I headed to the desert. I killed the huge nasty wasps to gather their chitin. At one point, something really weird happened. I kept grinding, killing the wasps, but it was going to take a while since it was not a guaranteed drop. Things got rough. I ran out of healing items and my health was low, so I had to set up a teleporter back home. This was super convenient. I was able to cook some food, heal, and rest properly. I also upgraded the blacksmith's anvil to tier 2, letting me craft cobalt weapons. I returned to the desert to continue working. At one point, I entered some kind of nest filled with small, disgusting creatures. The place was full of eggs that I could pop, and every time I did, more of these things would come out. It turned out this was the best way to farm the materials. There were also much larger versions of these insects, which was pretty creepy. I kept going at it, back and forth, clearing creatures and nests. Finally, I had enough chitin, but things didn't end there. I also needed more shadow wave scraps and void hearts. I teleported north into the snow biome to look for masked guards, which I knew dropped the scraps. I broke into their homes, stealing everything of value. In one of them, I discovered the chef's stove, which I stole since I didn't have one back home. While attacking their city, I noticed there were fewer enemies than before. I made sure to take down the ones that were still remaining. After that, I went out to look for void creatures to get the hearts, but I wasn't lucky. I decided to head out to the volcanic areas to look for adamantite, since I could make a fragment which would help speed things up. This area was really hard to climb, but once I did, I looked down. It was terrifying. Lava everywhere. I made sure to stay away from the volcano. While exploring this biome, I encountered a horrible hound. This place gave me the creeps. One wrong step and I would fall straight into my demise. Nonetheless, I went further, exploring another abandoned town, but there was not much of value here. I did fight a wraith though, which almost killed me. That thing was incredibly strong and his scythe looked amazing. Unfortunately, I ran out of healing items. I kept exploring, but I didn't find a single ore. I checked out out another town, but nothing. As I was heading south, the biome ended, and I stumbled into the jungle. There, I discovered the structure, some kind of ancient temple. There were tons of vases to break and staircases leading underground. I fought several skeletons down there. Water was falling from an upper level, creating a small waterfall. It looked really nice. Deeper inside, I found even more rooms, more sections of this ancient structure. The place was packed with enemies. Then a trap triggered and made me fall through the floor. I was about to die. Eventually, I found an opening that led straight to the ocean. I escaped through the water and swam up to the surface. That dungeon was amazing. Unfortunately, I ended up dying nonetheless. From what I had read online, there seemed to be a bug with adamantite at the time of this recording. Sometimes it didn't spawn correctly. I had not been able to find a single ore vein anywhere. I even went back to the lava biome to be absolutely sure. That's when things went very wrong. I went down a shaft, breaking through some iron bars, and suddenly stumbled straight into a massive boss. I had no choice but to run. Thankfully, I managed to heal by eating some food. And then, the huge monster got stuck between some blocks. I took advantage of this and defeated it safely with my arrows. It dropped a couple of essence of fire and a thorium ingot, not much. I found more iron bars and kept breaking through them. This place went really deep. I kept going down and down until I reached what looked like some kind of sewage area. It was full of piranhas, but that wasn't all. Here, I encountered my first zombie. I didn't even know they were in the game. Then I opened the chest which had adamantite ore inside. Finally, I had to fight even more zombies after that and spent a long time down here, completely lost. After swimming through a secret water passage, I discovered another chest with even more adamantite ore. This was the only way I could get some of it. Things got really bad at one point. I followed some water and was about to drown, so I tried mining my way out. Again, close call. I was getting desperate, so I started mining downward, hoping to find adamantite somewhere below. Eventually, I broke into some underground caverns beneath the lava zone and checked the place out. I still did not find any, but I found something far better. I carefully made my way down, placing block after block. I had to be extremely careful. If I fell, I was lost, and I had no idea how dangerous these creatures were. I built a small bridge to climb up a tree and found myself right next to a flying pterodactyl. Beautiful. Before doing anything else, I set up a teleporter right there. I went back home and stored all the adamantite. I also made sure to turn everything into ingots while cooking some food and preparing supplies. With everything ready, I returned to explore the dinosaur biome properly. This place was massive, full of foliage, and almost immediately I was being chased. Those things were so fast, way too fast, and there were a lot of them. As I ran, even more appeared. It was terrifying. Still, I fought back and managed to take them down, thankfully. At one point, I climbed some ladders up a tree and found what looked like a chair I could sit on. Nothing else. A bit weird, but okay. Later on, I found a lake, and then an actual house, a real home. Inside, there was a chest with nothing too valuable, but there was a table with a small light and several rooms. There were even beds. The place had a pier with training dummies and targets to practice bow shooting. Then, in the distance, I saw the biggest dinosaur I had encountered so far. I went closer, curious, but then... not a good idea. There was one last project I was putting off. The abandoned farmhouse right next to my home. It was finally time to renovate it.